It was 1986 and the slasher craze early in the decade was waning. However, even those looking for a scare-inducing movie monster had a whole new franchise to enjoy, courtesy of Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street, which caused such a stir in 1984. Yet Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers knew something that David Lynch was about to give his own twisted take on. The writer-director gave us a horrific view of the devious secrets hidden behind suburban white picket fences.
She wore blue velvet.
Lynch is a master of the absurd and the odd. Look no further than the man's feature film debut in 1977, Eraserhead. However, Lynch wouldn't go for unexpected frights in 1986's Oscar-nominated feature film Blue Velvet. Yes, the man earned an Academy Award nomination for this fantastic flick. This movie introduced me to the man who would become one of my all-time favorite filmmakers. And frankly, my love of Blue Velvet mirrored my early years as a fish out of water trying to survive a childhood in a heavily religious state, especially when you are obsessed with all things twisted and disturbed in cinema. After all, what bored teenager didn't secretly wonder what it would be like to delve into the dark secrets that our communities sweep under the proverbial rug?
The film has a nightmare feel to it right from the beginning. You know, here's this beautiful America, you see the fire trucks go by, and then here's what lives underneath it.
Hell, when I first bought this flick on home video, I realized how gross and moronic society can be. I bought this thing at midnight at the local 7-Eleven. Yes, they sometimes sold movies, and some blowhard got all creepy as I got into my car to leave. I had the last word though. On today's episode of 80s Horror Memories, let's deep dive into the weird and wonderful world of David Lynch's thumbs down masterwork.
And there's a black hole in my memory, which is Blue Velvet, a movie that just absolutely blew me away.
The horror genre was changing in 1986. With slashers becoming oversaturated, things got weird. David Cronenberg took on The Fly, Tobe Hooper brought the return of Leatherface with a very unexpected sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, yet he also contributed a little sci-fi fun with Invaders from Mars, and let us remember a monstrous man-eating plant who sang a few tunes in Little Shop of Horrors. Ah, what a decade it was. So where does the legendary David Lynch fit in? While it was already such an inventive time when it came to genre, Lynch offered us the descent of a young man obsessed with a lounge singer. And he indeed discovers that sometimes you may want to give your obsessive nature a break. This dude certainly poked the bear. And that bear is Frank. A brilliant performance from Dennis Hopper. Okay, if I'm being honest, I freaking love David Lynch. In fact, while I had seen The Elephant Man, it wasn't until I watched Roger Ebert famously give the film a thumbs down that I was instantly curious.
Sure, the movie's well made, but the more I thought about it, the less I liked it.
And yes, the strange and dreamy feature that merged comedy, violence, mystery, and a sort of 50s apple pie attitude had its hold on this viewer. Blue Velvet was such an impactful feature on this young cinephile, and frankly, it brought me a little luck. A few years back, when I came to explore the underbelly of Hollywood, I had an audition for an independent comedy called The Almighty Fred, and I was young and dumb but excited to meet director Bill Kellman to discuss the upcoming flick. I was coming in to read for a stoner character, and because I was currently obsessed with Lynch, we talked about the strange beauty of Blue Velvet, Eraserhead, and Wild at Heart. And yes, I got the part. Blue Velvet also left an impression on me that was unexpected. Living in a small town with a few secrets of its own brought a little intrigue and fright. I could relate to that character of Jeffrey Beaumont, wonderfully played by Kyle MacLachlan. He was just as ridiculous as most young men who begin to pick around where they shouldn't. And don't play innocent with me now. Most film lovers can relate at least a little to the character's absurd need to investigate. Why has this flick become so legendary? Its dreamy storytelling and disturbing sequences with Dennis Hopper terrorizing Jeffrey, especially Isabella Rossellini's Dorothy Valance. Having recently revisited this flick with friends who had not seen it, the comedy that exists within the sadism is quite unnerving. However, Lynch's day in Bizarro Land style won't fully resonate with Lynch's oddball storytelling lunacy. I can't get enough of it. Blue Velvet tells the story of a bored young man who decides to do something foolish and creepy. And he even gets a local high school girl who has a crush on him to help him break the law. Ah, young love. How sweet. But that's what makes Lynch's work so damn infectious. Even the hero is a bit of a weirdo in his cavalcade of crazy. However, in-depth storylines are not what makes this filmmaker's work so freaking interesting. Blue Velvet opens with a very pretty and happy portrait of a small town. Hell, every resident here is so friendly that they break the fourth wall to wave at those of us peeking in. White picket fences adorn beautiful, safe homes filled with families all doing their civic duty. This little slice of small-town America is a delightful place. Well, until it's not. Kyle MacLachlan plays college student Jeffrey Beaumont, a young, aimless man who comes home to help his hospitalized father. Once there, he takes over managerial duties at his pop's hardware store and throws rocks at some random shed. This dude is seriously aimless, guys. He finds an odd object while selecting another rock to toss off the dirty ground. Covered in insects, he eyes a human ear. So, of course, he does what any sane, sensible human being would do, right? Nope, the dude picks it up and brings it with him. Wait, did he just pick up a freaking human ear? Sorry, this Jeffrey guy is kind of a moron at times, but this movie wouldn't be nearly as amazing if this fool had made better life choices. What is his big idea? Why is Jeffrey hanging out with the underbelly of society?
Did I understand it all? Nope.
Again, Jeffrey is bored. Since the high school girl's father is an officer, he asks her to keep him posted on what happened to the human ear that he picked up. The next step for him is to stake out a possible connection to the cut-off ear. It involves a mysterious nightclub performer named Dorothy Valance, who's played by Isabella Rossellini, and my oh my is she stunning in this. Well before he helped David Lynch make a damn fine cup of coffee, and got famous as Dale Cooper in Twin Peaks, young Kyle MacLachlan was a regular performer for Lynch. The actor had appeared in the fascinating mess that was David Lynch's take on Dune, and he would also take on this curious role. And frankly, he makes it work.
If you think Blue Velvet was Lynch's follow-up to Dune, right? And you know, Blue Velvet, you could see the guy who made Elephant Man making. Certainly, you know, the guy who made Eraserhead. But Dune, you know, it's an interesting. It's like he reclaimed his artistic integrity.
And speaking of a great cast, just look at the many talented folk who live in Lynch's dreamy nightmare. You have Laura Dern, Dean Stockwell, Brad Dourif, Jack Nance, and one insane performance from the wildly entertaining Dennis Hopper, who also appeared in Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 that same year. No wonder horror folk tend to dig that guy.
Dennis Hopper, Blue Velvet. Oh, I'm slutty. Oh, I'm slutty.
Let's talk about the luminous Isabella Rossellini. What's fascinating about her performance is how strange this woman Dorothy Valance is. When we first get a glimpse of her on stage, seductively crooning the tune Blue Velvet to those in attendance, it's a gorgeous vision. Her singing voice perhaps may not ignite a flame, but it truly works for the character. As we learn more about her connection to Frank, Dorothy becomes all the more compelling. When Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert reviewed this one, the latter wasn't keen on Miss Rossellini's treatment. Even decades later, I'd rather not spoil the outrageous finale that finds this stunning woman completely nude outside the home of our hero. Let's just say that Mr. Ebert did not understand the humiliating nature of the moment.
But he asked Isabella Rossellini in this movie to be undressed and humiliated on the screen, as few actresses ever have been, certainly in non-porno roles.
And one of the things about Blue Velvet that I love the most is just how almost oversaturated the visuals are, and how he understood how to use the visuals. When you see the beautiful, happy township, and you kind of track down and you reveal the worms and the creatures and the disgusting things underneath, right then and there you know that you're going to be watching a movie that is going to force you to ask some questions you probably don't want to know the answer to.
Before I jump into the frightful Frank, what's up with that dude from Quantum Leap lip-syncing to Roy Orbison? Aside from Stockwell's stunning performance, he quickly lets the psychotic Frank and his goons take Jeffrey on a joyride. But it's not one you'd want to take, trust me on that one. Blue Velvet comes together like a vivid dream lost between 50s nostalgia and 80s camp. As intriguing and as offbeat as it is, it still holds up. If anything, the humor of it is far more appealing than I remember it being. As a nutty kid who loved the obscure and the uncomfortable when it came to keeping things freaky in flicks, my love for this film and the rest of his filmography continued to grow. If you've never witnessed Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, or Wild at Heart, they are all must-own for this fan regarding his fascinatingly offbeat style. And yes, Eraserhead is a classic that will creep you the fuck out, but not in ways you might expect. And also, yes, Blue Velvet has many of the charms that his excellent series Twin Peaks offered. The small town has secrets, and all the players seem to have a ton of skeletons in the closet. It may not be for those looking for a more straightforward storytelling, but for fans of Lynch, the man is an artist who rarely plays by the rules. Seeing the seeds of what would become Twin Peaks is a fascinating experience. Stepping back into Jeffrey Beaumont's departure into the darkness is still a tasty cinematic treat. Lynch takes chances with his work, rarely going for the predictable or the obvious. His appreciation of music adds another layer to his surreal journey.
And of course the emergency light sequence with Dean Stockwell, the candy-colored clown they call the Sandman, is pretty standout.
About a week after seeing the film, I'm running a bath for myself in my apartment in London. I was on my own, so I am naked, and I'm the bathroom door is open and the radio is on in the kitchen, and as I leant over the bathtub to put the plug in, I hear in the background the candy-colored clown they call the Sandman. In that moment, I'm gripped by utter, abject terror, and I don't know why. And my head is racing, and the rational voice is saying, "You've known this song for 20 years. You love this song. Why are you? Oh fuck!" It's that, and I think that's enormous credit that somebody can put something in your head that it'll terrify you all over again a week or so later without you even being aware that that's what is upsetting you so much.
At a time when the horror genre was attempting to find a new direction, Blue Velvet fit perfectly into the mix. It's a bold film that relishes its tawdry dive into the disturbed. I loved this film. It's not the perfect fit for everyone, as is most of Lynch's work.
We've all got used to this with the lovely Mr. Lynch over the years. It's wonderful mindfuck, no idea what was going on, but thank you.
Yet this may be his masterpiece for those who appreciate the auteur for his uniquely Lynchian images. And yes, I use the word Lynchian for a David Lynch film. If you love delving into the unusual and surreal, Blue Velvet is a journey you will not regret. Whether in dreams or not, this is one of the best features to gain notoriety in the 80s. And more importantly, it became a gateway to a director that I'd end up putting very high on my list of cinematic favorites.
We hope you enjoyed our dive into the year 1986. Next up, we enter 1987 and we bring along lots of suffering with Hellraiser. Until next time, gorehounds.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Hi friends, your humble narrator Tyler Nichols here, and I hope that you enjoyed that episode of 80s Horror Memories. If you missed our previous episode, click over here. If you want to see more from our series, click up here. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Subscribe right here. And most importantly, stay spooky, folks.